Hey everyone, Nick here and welcome back to GamerTube, and welcome back to our Little Nightmares character concept series. So in today's video, we'll be going into the character, the Painter. So we'll be going through this creepy character's location, mechanics, and all that stuff as well. Now this video will be a part 2 to the last video we did, the Mailman. This will be a continuation with the main character and seeing where they go after their interaction with the Mailman. So if you haven't watched that video already, there will be a link down below that you can check out, but we will also be doing a little recap at the start of this video as well. And as always guys, I will say that these are just some fun, cool ideas that we can share and tell a cool and creepy story. We don't really expect Tarsier or Bandai Namco to really turn this into a game or any DLC. And also a very big thank you to Jayfer over on Twitter for designing today's character. And lastly, before we start today's video, if you could please consider leaving a like, commenting, and subscribing, as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. Alrighty, let's get into the Painter. So in the last video, we talked about the child who was following the disturbing looking character, the Mailman. The child was after a certain package that the Mailman would have been delivering. The child followed them from door to door trying to retrieve that specific item that they were seeking. The Mailman managed to surprise the child and capture them. After they were caught by the Mailman, they woke up in the dusty old delivery truck. That's where the child coincidentally found their mystery package. After escaping the clutches of the Mailman, they now find themselves in an unfamiliar neighbourhood, where they need to now find themselves a new place to live. As the child walks further down the street, they place the package down on the ground and open it up to have another look at what they stole from the Mailman. As they peer into the box, they once again see a familiar friend from their past. Someone who left them but now has returned. They then take their treasured friend out of the box and give them a hug. After searching and searching, the child has finally come across a suitable house. It's a strange looking house, but something draws them towards it. It's like nothing they've ever seen before. As the child walks through the doorway, they see old worn walls covered in eerie looking paintings. The paintings don't seem to frighten the child, they actually seem quite interested in them. As they explore the house to see the other paintings, they come across a large set of doors. The player would try and open these doors, but then soon realise they were locked by 3 individual locks. The child stares at the doors and wonders what other strange paintings could be behind them in the next room. They just had to find out, so they set out to find the keys to these mysterious doors. So in this gameplay segment, the player would have to explore multiple rooms and areas of this strange house. First off, they find themselves in the kitchen. On the kitchen counter, they see a strange looking wooden sculpture that appears to have a key in its mouth. The player would have to get past a number of obstacles to get their way up to the kitchen bench to retrieve this key. They could have to cross a sink filled with dirty dishwater, or have to avoid a number of sharp kitchen knives that have been left out on the cutting board. Once the child has reached the strange wooden statue, they can't retrieve the key from its mouth. It appears to be a puzzle with moving parts. The player would have to lift the arms up and down in the correct position to free the key. Once they've figured it out, the strange statue opens its mouth and grants the player the key. The child then returns to the doors and opens the first lock. The player would then set off again in search for the other keys. They then find themselves in the living room. They see a large television set with a number of dials on the side. When they turn the dials, they see that the paintings above them light up. The player would have to figure out what series of channels would light up both of the paintings. Once the player has achieved the right number of channels, both the paintings light up and the second key is released. The player then unlocks the second lock and then sets out to find the final key. After a little bit of exploring, they now find themselves in the study room. In the corner of the room stands 2 stone statues. The player walks over to them and realises they have to turn the statues in different directions. Once the player has figured out the right position for these 2 stone statues, the third and final key is now revealed. As they return to the set of doors, they unlock the final lock and enter through the doors. The child has found themselves in a large room filled with multiple paintings hung up on the walls. They stare intently at all the paintings, fascinated by the strange characters that they see. There's one painting in particular that they seem most interested in. A painting of two children surrounded by two sinister-looking characters. As the child stares, they hear a sudden noise. They look over towards the room in the back. They go to investigate and peer around the corner. To their shock, they see a disturbing-looking character who seems to be painting a picture. As the child gets a closer look, it's made clear who they are actually looking at. This character would be revealed to be the painter. The painter is a strange and sinister looking woman with unnerving long fingernails and a paintbrush in the other hand. As the child continues to watch, they see the painter's eyes turn white as she begins to paint. The child gets a better look at what this strange woman is painting. And to their shock and dismay, they see her finished artwork. But how could this be? How could she have painted that? It would have taken hours, and the child just arrived at that exact spot. The painter turns around and stares at the child who's peering at them from behind the wall. The child quickly runs as the painter chases after them. The painter chases the child into the living room, but she's lost sight of them and tries to find the little intruder who is in their house uninvited. In this gameplay segment, the player would have to hide in multiple places to evade the painter. When the painter's eyes turn white, that means it's quickly time to find another hiding spot, as she'd quickly see in her mind where the player was hiding. After the player successfully evaded the painter, then they decide to go upstairs. The player has to quickly move, as they only have a fine amount of time before the painter sees in their mind where they've run off to. The player runs into a room and finds themselves in the supply room. This room is filled with old paintbrushes, tins of paint, and other art supplies. As they climb up on the shelves, they soon realise that the painter is already in the room with them. Then the painter spots the child and she goes to reach for them. The child accidentally steps on a tube of red acrylic and sprays paint all over a portrait on the opposite wall. As the red paint drips down the portrait, the painter shrieks in pain. The child then realises that the artist must be linked to her paintings. It seems whenever an artwork is ruined, a part of the painter's ability fades away. The child grabs multiple tubes of paint and jumps down from the shelf and runs out of the storage room. In this gameplay segment, the player would have to run away from the painter whilst also pointing the tubes of paint at all the paintings. The player would shoot paint at all the paintings and ruin them. Every time this happens, the painter would shriek in pain and this would slow her down. The child has to ruin every painting to stop this evil painter for good. If they didn't, she'd always know where they are and would never stop looking for them no matter where they go. So the player would run around the house and locate all the paintings and ruin them with the paint. They'd also have to dodge the painter and avoid being grabbed by her. The player could narrowly escape some attacks at the last second by ruining an artwork which would cause her too much pain. Once all the artworks have been ruined, there's still one more that needs to be done. It's the artwork of the two children. The child stares at this painting and hesitates to ruin it. The painter bursts into the room, and right before she can grab them, the child sprays the artwork with the bright red paint. The painter lets out one last shriek of pain as her white glowing eyes fade away. She just stands on the spot, motionless, as the child cautiously walks past her. They look back at the painter, and it seems as if she is frozen in time, never to move again. You could say she's as still as a statue. The child walks back up the stairs and decides to make themselves at home in the attic. When they reach the attic, they lock the ceiling hatch behind them just in case the painter ever snaps out of her comatose state. The child unpacks their bag and pulls out their friend. They walk over towards the window and peer outside. In the distance, they can see a familiar looking building. They don't know how or why, but they can sense someone needs help in that building. Someone could use a friend. Alrighty everyone, that's all we have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you especially enjoyed that special ending that we had for this video. So some of the viewers out there might have pieced together who this main character actually was. They've appeared in one of my other Little Nightmares videos before as a secret character. But if you didn't quite get the ending of this video, that's perfectly fine. You can watch these videos in sequence and that will actually explain who the main character is. And as always, leave a comment down below what you thought of the painter, the main character, and what you'd want to see going forward in Little Nightmares. Alrighty, well, until the next video, I'll catch you later. Bye.